Today, we're diving into Yuval Noah Harari's incredible book, Homo Deus. It's a journey that starts by looking back at humanity's greatest achievements, only to ask a really profound question about where we're headed. Now that we've basically conquered the ancient problems of survival, what on earth do we become next?
All right, let's just jump right in with a fact that is, well, it's pretty wild. Get this. In 2012, diabetes killed way more people than all wars and violence put together. Just let that sink in for a moment. For us, today, sugar is literally more dangerous than gunpowder. For anyone living just a few centuries ago, that idea would have been completely insane.
You see, for almost all of human history, life was defined by these three huge problems: famine, plague, and war. These weren't just issues to be solved. They were seen as the fundamental conditions of being human. They were inevitable, maybe even the will of the gods. You didn't try to fix them. You just prayed you'd survive them.
And when we say famine, we're not talking about just feeling hungry before dinner. We're talking about a terrifying force that pushed people to do unimaginable things. This quote comes from 17th century France, and while the king was living in luxury at Versailles, ordinary people were literally scraping rotten horse meat off of dung heaps to stay alive. And the scariest part? That was normal.
But this is where the story of our time begins. In what is just an absolutely stunning turnaround, we've managed to take these ancient monsters and turn them into manageable problems. For the first time ever, more people die from eating too much than from eating too little. And when a plague like Ebola shows up, we don't see it as some end of divine punishment. We see it as a technical failure, a problem that we failed to solve, but that we can solve.
So, if we've basically won the old game of survival, what's next? What's the new game? Well, this is where the story really takes a fascinating turn. Because with the old checklist of survival pretty much ticked off, Harari says humanity is setting its sights on a new, absolutely audacious agenda. We're now reaching for powers that, until now, belonged only to the gods of myth.
And what's on this new human agenda? Well, it's nothing less than this. First, to defeat old age and death itself. Second, to engineer permanent happiness. And third, to upgrade ourselves into a new kind of being altogether. Homo Deus, a human god. Yeah, we've gone from just trying to stay alive to literally trying to get superpowers.
And before you say this all sounds like science fiction, you should know it's not. This is the actual stated goal of some of the most powerful people on the planet. I mean, Google has a whole company whose mission is to solve death. Billionaires are pouring fortunes into this. The quest for immortality has officially moved out of fantasy novels and into the boardrooms of Silicon Valley.
Okay, but what about happiness? You'd think with all our comfort and wealth, we'd be happier than ever before, right? Well, surprisingly, the data shows that's not really the case. Our overall well-being hasn't really gone up. Making a starving medieval peasant happy was easy. You just gave him a piece of bread. But making a comfortable, modern person happy, that is a much, much tougher puzzle to solve.
Now, to understand how we got here and to get a glimpse of where we're going, we need to talk about humanity's secret weapon. It's our unique ability to cooperate in huge numbers because we believe in the same stories. Harari calls these intersubjective realities. Think about money, or nations, or companies. They're not real like a tree is real. They exist only because we all collectively agree to act like they do.
And a perfect kind of funny example of this is the front lawn. I mean, think about it. It's useless, it gives you no food, it takes a ton of work. But it all started as a status symbol for French nobles, basically a way to show off how much land they could afford to waste. And that one simple story was so powerful that it spread across the entire globe, literally reshaping the planet's surface, all for an idea.
For the past few hundred years, our most important shared story has been humanism. You know, the idea that every individual has a single, authentic self inside them, and that our feelings are the ultimate source of meaning and authority. But here's the twist. What happens when science starts to prove that this self is just another story we tell ourselves?
Well, it turns out the research suggests that we don't have just one self. We have at least two. There's your experiencing self, which lives every single moment, feels everything, but remembers almost none of it. And then there's your narrating self. This is the storyteller in your head. It ignores most of your life, picks out the dramatic peaks in the ending, and weaves it all into a neat little story. And guess which one makes all your major life decisions? Yup, the storyteller.
So, what this really means is that our most cherished idea, the very core of our modern worldview, is starting to look a little shaky. The belief in a single true self might just be a myth. Our consciousness isn't one clear voice. It's more like a noisy, chaotic choir of conflicting voices. We're not individuals. We're actually dividuals. We are divisible.
And if that's not mind-bending enough, it goes even deeper. The life sciences are all pointing to a really stunning conclusion, that all living things, including you and me, are basically just very complex biological algorithms. And our feelings, love, fear, joy, they aren't some magical spark of free will. They are the output of billions of neurons calculating probabilities. It's all just biochemical data processing.
This new understanding gives rise to a totally radical new worldview, a potential successor to humanism that Harari calls Dataism. In this new religion, the universe isn't made of matter or spirit, it's made of data flows. And the supreme value isn't human life or happiness, it's the flow of information. And what about us humans? Well, we're not the pinnacle of creation anymore. We're just a tool, a temporary step on the way to creating the ultimate data processing system, the Internet of all things.
And if you start looking at history through this new lens, everything looks different. Take the Cold War, for example. From a dataist perspective, capitalism versus communism wasn't a moral struggle. It was a competition between two different ways of processing data. Communism's centralized system was just too slow and inefficient. Capitalism, with its distributed network, the market, was way more efficient at processing information. And so, it won.
And this brings us right to the great crossroads of our century. For the first time in history, we're decoupling intelligence from consciousness. We are building these immensely intelligent AI systems that can understand our own internal biochemical algorithms, our feelings, our choices, better than we can. And when an external system knows you better than you know yourself, authority will inevitably shift from you to that system.
I mean, really think about it. This isn't science fiction. The algorithm that recommends a movie to you today, what if tomorrow it could access your entire digital footprint and your real-time biometric data? What if it could then tell you, with 87% accuracy, who you should marry? Would it still be rational to just listen to your heart?
So here is the grand bargain of the 21st century. We can hand over more and more of our authority to the network, and in return, we might get incredible benefits, better health, maybe even engineered happiness. But the price we might have to pay is the very foundation of our identity, the belief that we are free, autonomous individuals. The whole humanist project could end with us realizing we're just obsolete algorithms.
And all of this leads to one final huge and frankly profound challenge that Harari leaves us with. It's no longer just about what we can do, but about what we will choose to want. This is really the ultimate question for our time. When we have the godlike power to engineer not just our bodies but our very desires, the most important question shifts from what should we do to what do we want to want. As we gain the powers of gods, we have to finally face the question our ancestors never could. What kind of gods do we want to become? And that is the journey from Homo sapiens to Homo Deus.